Welcome to the recording of the online safety workshop that was delivered on March the 25th. We hope that you get a lot out of this presentation. We want to work together as a community to keep our children safe online and ensure they become well-rounded, knowledgeable and positive digital citizens. Our aim is to not overwhelm you with this presentation. We have tried to trim down the information so that the advice can be applied to different websites, apps and situations you and your family might find yourselves in. We will reflect on the risk involved with being online, the 3 C's of risk. We will look at our context and what is happening in our school. We will then look at the 3 C's of being safe at home, including parental controls, communication, and where children use their devices. We want to help you talk to your children about their online lives, and we will share ways we can support you and what support is out there if you or your child has problems online. We mentioned the 3 C's of risk. Most online safety concerns fall within these 3 categories. You can assess the dangers of apps, websites and other platforms by considering these 3 things. The first C is contact. This is a huge worry for most parents. Who are our children talking to online? Are they really who they say they are? In a world that is becoming ever more social, it's becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. And the way the world of technology is going, more and more apps that children will use when they are older will be social apps. Lots of apps are designed for social use, with many of them creating public profiles by default. Some app companies have recognised the dangers this could pose to children and have defaulted all under 18's account to private. Online games also have features that allow children to communicate with each other and sometimes other players. We know that children are also concerned about hackers and being hacked, which also falls into this category, along with loss of personal information and identity theft. The next C is content, which is the material that children are exposed to. Most sites and apps are designed for adults, not children. Apps and sites that are designed for children are heavily moderated and filtered, but most games and apps that our children are using are open to all ages. Content can be unsuitable or inappropriate for younger users, but it also can be fake or untrue. This C also refers to content that can affect children's self-esteem, body image and mental health. Children may come across inappropriate material without searching for it. For example, apps like YouTube have an autoplay feature, which makes suggestions at the side of videos. Using this feature increases the chance of children coming across unsuitable content. Games often have public forums, and whilst children might not be posting themselves, they can see and view what others have commented. As we've mentioned, these games are also enjoyed by older children and adults who may not filter their language or subject matter when posting. The final C is conduct, how our children behave online. This is equally important as we want to raise a generation of children who are positive digital citizens who communicate in a kind and positive way online. Conduct does not just extend to public comments, but also one-to-one direct messages between friends, group chats, and across a variety of platforms. How children behave now online can create future habits and have long-lasting consequences. We wanted to share with you some statistics from our school. We sent out an online survey to our Key Stage 2 children to be completed in one of their computing lessons and a simpler set of questions for our Key Stage 1 children. We wanted to understand the landscape of our school and to focus our online safety framework and personalise it for our children. Firstly, we learned that all children reported that they had access to devices that connect to the internet at home. Many children had access to multiple devices, with a high proportion of children owning them. We last did a survey like this 4 years ago, and the range of devices capable of connecting to the internet has vastly increased. We asked both Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 children if they had seen something worrying or upsetting online. 46% of Key Stage 1 and 45.4% of Key Stage 2 children said they had. This is almost double what was reported last time, but this isn't surprising because we've been spending more time online and the way we've used the internet has evolved. When asked about social media accounts and posting public comments, 49.8% of Key Stage 2 said they had a social media account, and 47.2% of Key Stage 2 reported posting a public comment. This was spread across all year groups in Key Stage 2. It was more heavily weighted to Year 6, and in both cases, over half of our Year 6 children answered yes. And the proportion decreased the lower down Key Stage 2 it went, but we still had a number of Year 3 children reporting to have a social media account and posting publicly. We also learnt that 66.8% of children in Key Stage 2 use the internet every day. with 34.4% of Key Stage 2 using the internet every day for more than 2 hours. This is hardly surprising with lockdown and circumstances changing, but it is worth noting that the longer children spend online, the greater chances of encountering upsetting or worrying content, and the greater effect it has on anxiety. In this workshop, we are not trying to say children should not spend time online. There are so many benefits to the internet, and in an ever more digital world, children need to learn how to navigate it safely. In the past 2 weeks since returning from lockdown, we've had some safeguarding incidents around online safety. We have a strong relationship with the children and you as parents, and we've been informed about these so we can act on them accordingly, which is a real positive. We've had some instances of possible grooming where children have been talking to people online who want to meet up with them secretly. We've had children being sent money from strangers on online games. We also have had children posting videos and photos in their school uniform, which gives away personal information to others online. It's easy to look up where the school is and wait at the gates for said child and pretend to know their parents or know them. We've also had some unkind and aggressive behaviour through gaming. Our children are still developing their social skills, and gaming, while still having many benefits, can also provide a great frustration for children who do not have the emotional development to deal with it appropriately. There also have been instances of security breaches and attempted hacking, which could potentially lead to data theft. These stories are not intended to scare you or frighten you into locking up your devices. They are merely here to demonstrate that online safety is a concern for everyone, and that events are happening in our community, which is why we need to work together to keep our children safe. At Tintersfield, we have come up with our own 3 C's to help keep children safe. The first is communal. From our survey, we found that 83.8% of children in Key Stage 2 and 63.8% of children in Key Stage 1 use their devices in their bedroom, which we use as a marker for unsupervised online time. 8.7% of Key Stage 2 said they only used it in their bedrooms. The problem with bedrooms is that you are not present. We advise that children should be using devices in communal areas like the living room, playroom, dining room, kitchen. This is not so you can hang over their shoulder constantly as such, but it means that you are there and you are seen. You can check the screens every so often and ask questions more easily. You can also check children's body language and look out for signs that something is wrong. Are they upset or frustrated and need a break? Sometimes playing online with others can be overwhelming, and children aren't the best at regulating when they need to take breaks from screens. Are they looking worried or anxious about something they have seen? Being around them and noticing this will enable you to ask if they're okay in a timely fashion. They might also be jumpy when you walk past or on edge. They might be quite secretive and try and hide the screen from you or switch screens when you walk by. These are things you'll only notice where you are in an area where you can see them. They may also become more withdrawn and not answer your questions as fully as before. When children encounter material that worries or upsets them and they are on their own, they do not always seek help straight away. The longer they leave it, the harder they find to talk to someone as the moment has passed. This can lead to children bottling up their emotions and worries. By intervening as it happens, you can stop molehills from becoming mountains. Our second C is parental controls. This is about creating a safe space for children to explore and gain independence. These controls will depend on the age and maturity of your children. At some point, the children will be accessing the internet without any filters or controls, so it's important to plan how you will manage these as children get older. Firstly, we have broadband filters. These parental controls will filter anything on your Wi-Fi network, including your devices. They block inappropriate search terms and stop access to websites deemed inappropriate. This website, from the UK Safer Internet Centre, gives you guides for 4 of the major broadband providers. If yours is not here, you can contact your provider for advice. Remember that these settings will only be in place when devices are using your Wi-Fi. If your child takes a device to another household and connects to their Wi-Fi, they will be subject to their settings, not yours. You can also add parental controls and bars on mobile networks too. I've heard stories of children bypassing the filters on the broadband by switching to their mobile data, so it's worth looking at both. You can set these up on individual devices by accessing your account on the website or the app. They will require a PIN to change the settings, so children can't change them without your consent, so long as you don't give them the password, that is. Some apps also have in-app parental controls. These vary from app to app, but they can control features like friend request, direct messaging, in-app purchases, so you don't get an unexpected bill after your child has bought 20 different costumes for their character. Some apps allow you to pin protect these settings so children cannot change them, but not all of them do. Finally, you can use safe searches. Google and other search engines let you set a safe search as a default search engine. This will filter out content that is inappropriate for younger users. This setting is not password protected and it is easy to change back to the full Google, so do please be mindful of that. It also isn't perfect, particularly the Google image side. The deeper you go into the results, the more likely you are to find something inappropriate. Southwest Grid for Learning have created a search engine just for children. You can access it via the web at www.swiggle.org.uk, but there is also an app. It has some added benefits to Google Safe Search. There is a screen shade, so setting material can be covered before going to get an adult. It also recognises that children's spelling is still developing and it takes this into account when giving search results. It's also quite proactive in removing content that has slipped through the net. Google has a more of oops, let's move on mindset, but Swiggle will actively remove search results if you report them. Our final C is conversation, which we think is the most important C of all, and it underpins all of the other Cs. From our survey, 41.7% of Key Stage 2 pupils said they only ever talked to an adult about online safety when something went wrong. Worryingly, 9.2% of children said they never spoke to an adult about their online safety activity. We'd like all children to regularly talk about their online lives with their families. NetAware, a fantastic website, suggests that you should work as a team. The T stands for talk regularly. Talking about online safety shouldn't be an overwhelming and negative conversation with children. They are very invested in the online world and they already think we are dinosaurs when it comes to technology. At Christmas, we sent out this handout about talking to children about online safety. It gives some good questions to start conversations. I particularly like asking what children think other young people think of, rather than a personal question. Keeping the pressure off will improve the lines of communication. The E stands for explore together. It's important that you share your child's online life with them. There are so many new apps and a seemingly endless list of games that it is impossible to be one step ahead of children all the time. When they want to play a game or download an app, it's a good opportunity to discuss with them some questions you would ask them about an offline activity to help keep them safe. Who will be there? What will you be doing? What will you do if something goes wrong? Sitting together to explore the game will help you see what the potential dangers are. You can also use websites that provide reviews to explore together to see if they're suitable. A is for agreement. This is about setting a family agreement, not just about the children's use of technology, but the family's use of technology. Our children are used to being involved in creating rules for the classroom, which are linked to our rights and responsibilities, and we find that they enjoy being given the chance to talk about their ideas. The UK Safer Internet Centre has produced this wonderful resource that provides some ideas about what areas you might want to discuss as part of your family agreement. They also provide a template for you to fill in as a family, considering who is responsible and what happens if the code is broken. I do like the reminder about keeping the tone positive rather than just being a list of don'ts. M is for manage, setting up those parental controls and sticking to your family agreement, and reviewing the family agreement and changing it if it isn't working. We find that children often know the right things to say when you talk to them about online safety. However, they are often overwhelmed in the moment and don't always do the right thing. It might be peer pressure or not enough time to think, or FOMO, the fear of missing out. But this is why regular conversation and making online safety a normal topic of conversation can help keep it at the forefront of their mind. Now we've covered the 3 C's of risk and our 3 C's of safety, we want to share some common features of apps to be mindful of. These are just things to look out for and things you might want to talk to your child about. You'll be able to see that many of these have elements of risk from all 3 C's. Firstly, we have live streaming. You might not be aware, but some apps allow you to broadcast a live video directly to an app or a website. These are sometimes public videos, but sometimes for friends only. You can also view other people's live videos, which you obviously have no control over what they say or what they do. Then we have public forums and commenting or open chat. These often feature in games because gaming has become a social activity, and whilst children enjoy playing them, many adults and older teens do so too. Most of these apps are not designed for children, so are not moderated or filtered. Some apps have the ability for anonymous posting, whereby the users can post without their identity being revealed. These types of apps can increase cases of bullying and harmful content, as users can hide behind the anonymous posts. These apps can have a huge impact on children's mental health. Some apps also allow disappearing messages. I believe this feature can now be applied to WhatsApp too. These self-destructing messages disappear after a set time. Whilst you've always been able to delete messages, these types of apps mean that messages, pictures and videos included, disappear from the recipient and sender's phone. Snapchat, a hugely popular app, is based on this premise. It means it's hard to see what has been said or seen, as once they're gone, they cannot be retrieved. Location tracking is needed for some devices. For example, the weather app needs to know where you are to give you relevant information. But some social media apps have location tracking too. You can check into places on Facebook, for example, which broadcasts your location to the people on your friend list if you're using a private account, or anyone if it's a public post. Some apps like Snapchat and Instagram also have a mapping feature which groups your posts onto a map. This can easily show people where you live or where you work, and it's easy to form patterns. We lastly had in-app purchases. Nothing in life is free, and games are often free or cheap with the option to spend money in the game. Sometimes this is for items or costumes known as skins, or for new levels. It can be very tempting to an 8-year-old to buy the awesome-looking car because children are still developing their impulse control. This probably sounds rather overwhelming. So what support is there for you? Well, firstly, we have our termly newsletter that addresses new apps, new vocabulary or trends, looking in depth at features in apps and discussing their risks. It's sent out by a parent mail on the last week of every term. We also have our website, which we are currently in the process of revamping. When completed, you will have access to a bank of resources that can support you with different aspects of online safety. We also have a dedicated Twitter account for online safety, so please give us a follow at Online Safety TPS. On there, we tweet app guides, articles, advice, and the most up-to-date information. We tweet at least 2 or 3 times a week, so it's definitely worth following. These are 2 great websites. The first one is NetAware, which is run by the NSPCC. You can search for apps and it brings up the features of the apps, the risks, and how to manage it safely. They also have some excellent videos and useful articles too. The National Online Safety app has just been launched, and there are comprehensive guides to apps that really help you understand the dangers and risks. We've already sent a few of these out in the past and we find them really useful. They also have some good explainer videos on there too. The NSPCC also have a hotline that is dedicated to online safety. If you have a worry or concern, you can call them for advice and support. So how do you report incidents of online safety? For harmful or upsetting content, your first port of call is the report button on the app. Please bear in mind that every app or platform has their own set of standards and policies, and as we mentioned, many are not specifically made for children. Your report may come back with a response that basically tells you there is nothing they can do because whilst you feel the material is inappropriate for your child, it may not go against their policies. You can also block users on a personal level, so they'll not be able to contact you or be visible to you. We are always here to support you. Whilst we appreciate most online safety concerns happen outside of school, they do have an impact on children's well-being, so it's important for us to keep in contact. We can offer advice and support. We have a network of professionals we can tap into. We've had lots of contact with the police, online safety specialists and other professionals. When we are made aware of online safety incidents, we log them and act on them. Sometimes this is a circle time activity in class. It might be small group work or a lesson, or we also have half-termly online safety assemblies that are relevant and current, which sometimes these incidents can feed into. As part of our website revamp, we're also going to have the facility for you to report online safety incidents via the school website and also a text message function too. This tool can be anonymous if you wish. There's also a great website that can support you in reporting harmful content, reportharmfulcontent.com. They will support you by fighting your corner. They are experts in understanding website policies. Here are some of the areas that they can support you in, including bullying and harassment, threats, violent content, and others. They offer advice as well as a reporting system, so it's well worth checking out their website. Sometimes the content you or your child come across is illegal. If this is the case, you should report it using one of these agencies. The National Crime Agency has a report button where you can report any crime and someone will get back with you to discuss. The Internet Watch Foundation is for reporting child sexual abuse content. ACT, or Action Counters Terrorism, is for reporting content that is deemed to be linked to terrorism or extremist behaviour, and True Vision is a place to report hate crime. It's worth noting that it can be just as upsetting for children to witness harmful content such as harassment or bullying, even if they are not the victim. We would encourage you to report things even if your child was not directly involved. We talk to the children about being upstanders and standing up for people without a voice. This can help alleviate their worries and anxieties. We know that was quite a lot of information in a short space of time. Thank you so much for listening. We have tried to keep things simple and applicable for all apps and platforms. We know that you might have questions, so please email us at school with anything you wish to know. We will try and answer the questions as best we can and share the answers with the wider community via our parent mail or our Twitter. Thank you so much for listening.